In three, two, Brandon, man, what's up, man? How's it going?
It's going pretty well, Michael. How about yourself?
I'm glad you got my email that we're both going to be wearing army green shirts.
Army
It's
green. It's kind of my color. It matches my eyes. I didn't really like green before, but I've come around to it a little bit.
That's your favorite color?
It's not my favorite color, but apparently it looks good on me, is what I've heard. So brings out the
Ah,
eyes. Look,
yeah.
looks good on you too, bro. It's our new color now.
It's our new color.
And
Yeah,
bring
I
it to
know.
Napa.
Hey, speaking of that, you going?
Yeah, I'll be there. It's like mid-November, something like that.
Yeah, I want to say like the week before the 24th, the 25th, or something like that, right?
I think that's about right. I got it all blocked off and everything. I'm excited, man. I've been to Cali for like a weekend when I was a kid, but that's it. I went to San Diego, but I haven't really done California other than that. So
Like
looking
northern.
forward to Napa. Yeah.
Nice. Are you bringing your team or anything or no?
No, man, that's quite an expensive trip to bring the whole squad.
Yeah.
I bought the spouse ticket though, so I'll have a companion there. So
Yeah, because it's like, wine and you know what I mean? It's
it's
big.
Napa. I mean, it
Yeah.
can't get away without that one.
It's gonna be nice, man. It's gonna be nice. I know like the itinerary is gonna be coming out pretty soon, the full thing and everything like that. So we're excited to share that with everybody, but excited to see you guys out there, man.
You too, man. It's been a while. I don't remember the last time I saw you. Maybe like a Voices of Dentistry or something.
Yeah, it was Voices of Dentistry. Voices of
Yeah.
Dentistry. And it's been a minute. Since then, Brandon has opened up his fifth practice. How's that coming along, man? How are things coming along so far with your practice? It's been how long since day one?
So we started literally, I think it was June 1st, 2020.
Man. So like,
So just coming out of like the middle of COVID, like we were just, I'm pretty sure the first week that they lifted all of the restrictions in my city, at least, is the day we opened. So the week before that, you weren't allowed to have people in, your building.
yeah.
So I think we lucked out on the timing, and we didn't have a lot of delays from COVID. I mean, maybe a couple of weeks in there as far as construction, but yeah, man, we've come a long way since then.
So since then, right now you are, I know we were talking a little bit before it, you were saying that it used to be a goal, right? Like, yeah, I want to own multiple practices. Now
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah. I mean, I think in dental school, starting to listen to all the podcasts and all that stuff and hearing other people doing it, knowing all the possibilities and I'm kind of a go-getter. So at the time thinking eventually it'd be cool to open multiple practices or whatever, or acquire either way. But, as I've gotten into this one and seeing how much work it is, and to be honest, how stressful it is and how, you can quickly lose control of your mental health in the midst of it. So I've been more trying to find a balance between my personal life and the practice at this point. And I think just taking on more really would just kind of require a lot of, my focus and energy, which at the time I have two small children and, trying to spend time with them and not miss all the fun years.
Yeah. When did it hit you, Brandon, where you're like, oh man, my mental health, like when did it click?
Probably like after the honeymoon phase of opening a practice was over, which really didn't take that long. I mean, you get busy, which is great, but at the same time, it just becomes, more stressful. You have all these decisions to make. You're the marketing person, you're the operations person, you're watching all the finances, and you got to talk to your CPAs and all these other things that kind of go with that. Staffing. I've been really lucky as far as staffing. Having pretty good stability there. But just quite complex. Being an owner of a business, especially starting one, and being the go-to person for every single little decision that's to be made. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
I would say even like 6 months after opening, um, it especially in like the winter time and things like that, where I'm like getting a little more stress, a little more depression and anxiety symptoms and things like that, which was all kind of like new feelings for me. Honestly, I've never really experienced that before. So um, becoming more aware of those things and then trying to do the right things to keep me on the right path.
Those were new feelings like the depression, anxiety.
Yeah. I've never really been like an anxious person, but it started happening and it was kind of new to me. And you don't really know how to handle it. So you just kind of like say, this is the new normal. Um, and that's just kind of the day-to-day stuff where what I really had to do ultimately was kind of dial back a little bit clinically myself. And
Mhm.
I kind of try to boil my life down to the basic stuff, like literally just like eating right. That's a
Yeah.
big thing. I would skip breakfast a lot. I'm not used to eating breakfast. I wouldn't eat until like 2 p.m. and then I'm like binge eating, feeling like crap the rest of the day. And it just carries through the week. And then sometimes you get home and you're like, man, I'm kind of stressed out from the day. I'll have like a drink or two, but like alcohol doesn't really help either. Even it's just like a little moderation here and there. It, just kind of getting back into the gym, like at least 3 times a day is kind of where I was starting. So
Three
trying to
times a
build,
day or a week?
oh, sorry, 3 times a week.
I
But
was like, geez, man, Brandon, chill out with that. Like,
well, I used to be an everyday guy, and like in
yeah,
dental
yeah,
school,
yeah.
it was my days were consistent and I had a time I would go to the gym and I was probably in the best shape of my life. But after school, life gets busy and kind of fall off that train, right? So knowing what I know what to do, I know the right things, but doing it after being off for a while is very difficult because I want to go all in.
Mhm.
So I've actually hired like a health and nutrition coach and kind of just got back to the basics and just starting with tracking what I'm eating, every day. And then slowly developing these habits again. Because what I would try to do is get back on 5 or 6 days a week and go all out. And then I would
Mhm.
quickly, 2, 3 days in, it's like not working anymore.
Yeah, you
So
burn out.
yeah, easing myself back into that and eating enough has always been an issue for me. So trying to get some calories in it, protein especially like in the morning and then carrying that throughout the day and just making better choices there. So it took a while, but I started noticing positive changes just from implementing that, basic stuff.
Yeah. Why do you feel like this started happening? Like, was it because of you weren't where you wanted to be already? Like, it's 6 months in and you're like, oh my gosh, or it's just you went too fast, too hard? What? Why?
Honestly, it took off quicker than I thought. So it wasn't
Mhm.
like we were behind by any means, especially for, again, like the COVID stuff going on. We came out of the gates pretty well. I think for me, it was just wearing all the hats, kind of like I mentioned before,
Mhm.
and having to make every little decision. Um, it's kind of wild though, because you get busy and you're like stressed about that. But then if you show up one day, even now, like Tuesday, we had a lot of rain here and a lot of flooding, and we had probably half or more of our hygiene patients canceled. Um, so I had a really empty, slow day, and I was like stressed about that. But then now I'm just trying to focus on, not carrying that home with me.
Do you feel like that was happening a lot, that you carried this stuff home with you, and then at home, because you carried it home, it was issues, and then you're like, well, who do I go to? Who do I go
Exactly.
to for this?
Yeah, man. So it's like kind of like a snowball effect. And it's hard for me to separate the two things. It's hard for me to go home and just leave everything at work and be who I should be at home. And yeah, that makes things a little tougher. But I mean, I started seeing like a therapist every other week. Like when did we start that? Like almost a year ago. Um, so that's kind of helped me try to one just navigate some of these things and maybe just bring awareness to myself about what the triggers are. And I've kind of noticed more of like a weekly cycle where I will get stressed and anxious about the week upcoming, let's say on Sunday. So I'll have like anxiety on Sunday night leading into Monday. It'll kind of carry through. Um, but again, when I'm starting to get back to the eating well on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and like I see a lot of positive momentum from the beginning of the week toward the end of the week. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, that's good. Because of
So
those like little, what have you noticed the triggers have been?
for me, I'm just kind of one of those people that always thinks ahead and thinks of all the things that could go wrong. So let's say I have like a specific patient that I know I'm going to see on Monday, and maybe it's like a really challenging case, maybe just outside of like a slam dunk for me, like a comfort zone thing, where I'm like, this could go this way, this could go wrong this way. And I think of all of the possibilities, right? And I kind of
Mhm.
maybe will just get anxious about that. And then when it comes and goes, I look back and I'm like, well, that went as well as it really could have gone. Like, and none of the things I thought might happen even happened because
Yeah.
it's just kind of weird. Yeah, certain types of people are just kind of driven that way, I guess.
So you feel like you start going down this path or train of thoughts of like where things can go wrong.
Yeah, essentially.
And because I feel like Brendan, that's the thing. Like a lot of us have, right? Or I don't know, maybe not. I feel like a lot of us maybe like, and we don't talk about it as much, but like, oh my gosh, everything that's about to go wrong is going to go wrong, right? Don't they say that like how much of what we worry about really ever comes true? But I hear that, but it doesn't fix anything. You know what I mean?
And that's kind of what I'm struggling with. So the first step for me was like grasping the awareness of this reality, knowing
Mhm.
that I'm doing doing it this way or thinking of the things that aren't even going to actually happen. But it's one thing to become aware, and then the next step is like, what do you do about it? It's still hard to not to tell yourself just to not have those thoughts. You know, that you can't just like shut it off.
Yeah. What do you do then?
That's something I'm trying. That's what I'm working on right now. Actually, I try to talk myself down. You know, and I'm not going to say like this doesn't happen like every week, but like in the instances it does, I just try to tell myself like, man, you've navigated a lot already. You know, we've opened the startup through COVID. We've crushed it, man. We've maintained like our core staff. 99.9% of our patients love us, you know, and there's just always like that 0.1 that sticks in your mind. You know, you have maybe one bad experience in 2 years for a patient, and maybe you didn't do something the right way, but that's the stuff that you carry in the back of your mind. But for some reason, we're always blinded to the positive side of things.
Yeah.
At least I am, and I know a lot of other people are the same way. People, you know, you get like a 1-star review, you see it on these groups all the time. Oh my gosh, I got my first 1-star review. What do I do? How do I respond to this? I've started letting a lot of that stuff go. We've got like 1-star review, and I did a little response, but I was just like, you know what? It's about all I can do. You know, I'm not going to stress about it. We've got like 200 something other 5 stars.
That's true, man. That's true. I like that. You start thinking of the positive. They say you have the power to find meaning and joy even in the worst circumstances. So I guess you kind of have to like really, really think about that, right? And look through it instead of going down the train of thought of the negative thinking, which leads me to like what I want to ask you. You mentioned like, man, we're killing it and everything like that. How are you guys killing it? Like how's production and collection looking like in your business compared to before? What's been some of the road speed bumps, I want to say?
Well, I guess I don't know about speed bumps. I will say this: every time I've like added capacity, and what I mean by that is like adding a chair, and honestly, what it really comes down to is adding a hygienist. Every time I've hired a hygienist, you see just a giant boost in production, and that's something I've uh, maybe my mindset has changed a little bit. You know, working with like a practice coach for a period of time. At one point, he's like, "Dude, just go ahead and like bring on your second hygienist, bring them on full time, just go for it. Like it'll fill up.
Mhm.
Like the new patient numbers are there, the marketing is good. You add that, and at first their schedule's not going to be busy, but it didn't take too long, and they started filling up, and from there, doctor side fills up. So I mean, as far as where we're at now, um, I would say since the beginning of the year, I would say our basic month would be like 100,000 collections. Um, July, we had a week off and a lot of cancellations. I'm not really sure what was going on there, but we ended at like 80,000 for the month. But we're on track this year to do 1.4 million.
Nice, man. Good.
Yeah, so not
And
too
that,
bad for full second year open.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That's like your whole. Who was the practice coach you hired?
I worked with Paul Etchison, the Dental Practice Heroes
Okay.
podcast. Yeah, Yeah,
How was that?
it was great, man. Well, he did a startup like, a lot of us are doing, right? And he built that up over the years from like zero to, I mean, maybe he has like 11 operatories now, maybe even more, and multiple docs in the practice. So I always liked his communication, and I liked his podcast and his messaging, and it seemed to jive a lot with, what a lot of my philosophies were. So just, seeing somebody that's doing what I'm trying to do, and they've already done it successfully. I kind of just latched onto him and picked his brain a little bit. Really, we just kind of got on the phone once a month, and I would bring up anything I was struggling with at the time, and we just kind of talk about it.
What
But
were
yeah,
some of
he
the
always,
things that you were struggling with at the time that y'all fixed?
well, it was mostly like, for me, it was always like, what's the next phase of growth? Like, what do I do next? And I talked about this just a minute ago, where it was always ad hygiene, and he worked with me through that, and it always worked out really well. And then the second thing was, and this goes back to even kind of the mental health stuff we were talking about, and finding more balance in my life, and wearing all the hats. I have a friend who now works for me 1 day a week. So he
Mhm.
comes in on Wednesdays, um, and I turn that into my admin day essentially. So I come in and I GSD Wednesdays. I get shit done. Anything that's not related to, direct patient care. So I see patients Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. He comes in Wednesday. I do my admin stuff, and then, Thursday afternoon, weekend is started for me. So that's kind of the balance that I found in my life that I need.
Yeah. Open Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 4 days a week.
Yeah. So when I was talking to the coach, I was talking to him about how, having an associate is a goal of mine, and I might start my friend 1 day a week eventually. He's like, why don't you just do it now? And kind of stopping me in my tracks a little bit. And I was like, I don't think I'm ready now. Um, but just kind of trusting the systems, taking that leap, and it's worked out. So he started like early January, and I mean, it took not too long to just throw new patients in Wednesdays and get him some treatment going, and it's worked out really well.
That's good, man. When did you start breaking even then? From day of opening till right now, like what month? What?
Well, for us, so I opened in June 2020 with one employee, and she was cross trained front and back. And a lot of my patients were friends, family, all that stuff. So after the first month, I kind of hit all my basic expenses just between me and her. At that point in my mind, I was like, just hire a hygienist and hire an assistant. So I did that a month later after opening. And then after that, things kind of took off, you know, once I had the hygienist in place. So after like month two, we were past break even, I would say.
That's when you already started paying yourself.
I probably didn't pay myself right away because I've always just really invested the money back into the practice, and I really still am for the most part. Um, I mean, I still pay myself pretty good now, but I probably worked my associate job until April or May 2021. So still for like 6-ish to 8-ish months, I was working part time and just putting most of our profits back into the office.
Would you say that's like a, because you know how you hear two sides of that. Some people say like, "Hey man, don't quit your associateship. You need some type of income," and then some people are like, "Nah, you got to go all in or nothing." What would you recommend?
That's a hard question to answer. I think just because it's so personal, it depends on, what your personal financial situation looks like. And then also, how much do you trust, that your office is going to carry forward, if you go all in. Um, for me, I had the stability of, my wife's income, kind of keeping our house stable. I had a good amount of savings, but I still wanted to make extra money at the time. Um, and I also wanted to be fair to my employers and give them plenty of time to find a replacement for me. So I did kind of work through that with them. And I didn't have to stay that long, but maybe as a goodwill kind of thing, I did. And it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of extra money in the meantime. I would say as soon as you can, as soon as you feel comfortable, get into your own office full time.
Gotcha. Hey, so your wife doesn't. Why did I think your wife was working in the practice with you? She doesn't
Does not.
right
No.
now. Is she? What does she do?
So she is a stay-at-home mom is really what she is. But the way our situation kind of has worked out, sad, but she lost her father in a work accident when she was like 6.
Mm.
So there was a large settlement uh, with that. So her and her mom, I think, get essentially they get like monthly checks for the rest of their lives. So that it really covers like our basic living expenses. So fortunate for us, but sad the way it kind of came about.
Yeah, no, 100%. Okay, okay, I got you. So then throughout this time, and I kind of want to eventually come back to this mental health thing because that's super important, right? And we probably will probably trickle it in here and there throughout this conversation. But what have been some things that have been over exaggerated from when you were going to do your startup? You're like, oh my God, I got to think about it. I got to start doing that. Now you're on year 2. You're like, that was, why was I stressing that? Who posted that? That didn't even matter anymore, whatever they were talking about. You know what I mean? Like, what are some things to look out for where it's not even worth mentioning kind of thing? You know what I mean?
I don't know if I can come up with anything like really specific, but I do know just looking back, like planning the office out and like every single decision you made in planning the office seems so huge at the time. Um, Maybe the exception of that is like floor plan. Obviously, I think that is like a huge piece of it and getting enough chairs in your office. But even like the light fixtures in the patient lounge, like on the like looking back, like nobody really sees it. Nobody's like looking up at the ceiling, but it's just stupid shit like that to me. Stupid things. Um, I don't know, man.
Because I know some people like overthink, like, oh my gosh, I got to get the best chairs. I got to do, I got to get, I don't know, this coach to start out with. I got to get all insurances, or they're like, I just want to go fee for service. You know what I mean? You see all these things where it's almost a little bit like scare tactics, I want to say, to be like, you need to do this. You need to make sure you're doing this. But now that you're open, you're like, it's not, no, man. That's a good one. The light fixtures. I feel
Yeah,
like,
I
yeah.
think. I mean, the chairs are like you had brought this up, but I mean, you need good chairs, but like they all move up and down and back, right?
Yeah.
So, um, I don't know. My basic advice for anybody thinking to do a startup: take Breakaway, man, and just listen to the philosophies there. Now, I don't get cheap on everything, but I got nice looking chairs, that function well. I went with like Forest as opposed to like ADEC, where you probably pay twice as much. But everybody says, "Wow, ADEC will last like forever," but Forest is lasting a long time for me as well. I mean, it's only been 2 years, I guess, but
Yeah.
they have a
That's
good
true.
track record.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Marketing and advertising. What are you doing right now as opposed to before?
I mean, I started off, just trying a lot of different things, seeing what worked. One thing I tried that I stopped doing pretty quickly was some radio ads. It's very expensive, and it really didn't directly bring in, a decent amount of patients.
Mhm.
Um, so my focus now is digital ads. We do Google pay per click, we do Facebook and Instagram targeted ads, and I still do mailers. I do it every month. I've been doing it since we opened, and those do pretty well, at least for us in our area. Um, the biggest component, I think, I'm in a pretty saturated area, but we stick out a lot because I built a brand, and that really started with me uh, on a call with Joshua Scott back in 2018, I believe, way before we even opened, and kind of developing that side of it, and that's been huge, I think.
What do you mean? Talk to me a little bit more about that, like building the brand. Because I see your logo. You know what I mean? I'm not even in St. Louis or anything like that, and I see your logo
Oh, dude,
all
it's
over.
everywhere. I'll put it
Yeah.
on everything.
So
There you go.
Studio
Like,
88.
here's a golf ball. This is a marketing expense now. I lose so many of these. I just buy them with my marketing expense. I don't know if you can see it, but it's got
Yeah,
my
yeah.
name on it and the logo.
So are they the ones who made your logo too?
Yeah. So really, what happened was I don't know. call, with Josh, and it was more of a conversation about like, what's your vision, And for me, I know for a lot of us, we have the same vision because we're in this group and we're all like similar minded, where we want, modern. We
Mhm.
really want to change the dental experience for patients. We want to make it positive. We don't want it to be a typical dental office. So we have that mindset in the groups that we're in, but across the country, probably 90 something percent of offices aren't that way, right? 90% of dentists aren't thinking the way we are. So it sounds maybe overplayed because we're all saying the same thing. But I got on the phone with Josh. I kind of told him my vision of that. And we did the brand creation process, which is like a little workbook they sent me with some questions and stuff. And I filled that out with all the certain types of things that I was looking for with a logo and a brand and a messaging.
Mhm.
And they came with some options and they fucking nailed it. Honestly, that's simply put. I wanted clean, simple, and modern. And I think they nailed it, man. And we built based on that. And the website sticks out a lot. We get a lot of compliments on the website.
Yeah.
Especially, a year after we opened or so, I added video content to the website. I had them come out a couple of times and do content for us. They do a really good job.
Yeah. Building that brand, man, is like in your community
Mhm.
is pretty huge, right? Like
Yeah,
first steps, right? I would want to say like that's one of the main things you want to do.
yeah, it's very recognizable too. And I still think it's early for it. Like we're only 2 years in. I think this brand play, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, like I think we are just going to be the premier office probably in all of St. Louis.
That's gonna be nice, man. How much, if you don't mind me asking, was all that? Like the website, the photos, and everything like
Oh,
that.
man,
Or give me a range.
I'll ballpark it for starting up with all of it. I want to say like 24,000, but we split that up over time. It like they gave me like 24 months to pay it.
Yeah,
Uh,
like a payment plan.
yeah, payment plan, no interest or anything like that. Um,
Because I know some people
that
say you see this all the time, right? Like, oh, just make your own website. I just go to 99 cents or 99 designs, right? Like,
mm,
what are your thoughts on that?
I my thoughts are is personal, right? I hesitate giving people like generalized advice like that because if you're opening in a place where your dentist to population ratio is like 10,000 to 1, you probably don't need to brand like I did and spend as much money as I did on a website. Could you probably DIY it? Yeah, if you're like in a rural town and you're the only dentist around,
Mhm.
that's where people are going to go, even if you don't have a website, probably. But um, for me, in my situation, if you drive 3 miles down the street, you'll pass like at least 10 offices. So I told him on the phone when we first talked to each other, I was like, I need to stick out. I need the website to be different than everybody else around here. And well, here we are.
You're like, how many patients are you getting a month?
It's a good question. Our average, I think I'm pulling up a report.
And then what practice management software are you using?
So we've been averaging this year probably about 60 patients a month this calendar year.
Okay, that's pretty good.
June of this year we did 77. So pretty good numbers overall, and some of it I think still were like kind of bottlenecks for capacity. Um, I'm on the verge of probably hiring another hygienist, but I'm waiting for the chair. I don't know if you've heard, but equipment takes forever to get right now.
Yeah, yeah.
So I ordered it months ago and it's still not here. But as soon as we get that, I'll probably get a third hygienist going. And
Dang, a
then
third one, man.
the
How many
next,
team members do you have?
I only have five. So two
Ah,
hygienists, two assistants, and one front office. And yeah, so maybe the next move will be a third hygienist. And And I'm hoping that will lead into getting my associate on full time sometime next year.
Gotcha. Who are you using for mailers right now?
You ever heard? You've heard of Gargle? You
Yeah.
talk with them, right? I work with Gargle, and the postcards are from I think dentalmarketing.net. I Gargle has changed recently a couple of times. I don't really know. It's hard to follow what's going on there, but I don't know if they're still affiliated or not. But the postcards come from dentalmarketing.net.
Gotcha. Okay.
They may
So
be unaffiliated at this point.
gotcha. Okay. That's who you utilizing. Interesting, man. Okay. So then what's been like super, I guess not super, but what's been very hard to manage throughout this time? Has it been the people, the employees, your emotions with the patients at home? What do you feel?
Um, Employees has been the easy part for me. I've been very, very lucky. Um, I don't have to do any micromanaging. I have a full group of like self-starters. I kind of give them a lot of control on some of the things as well in their specific departments. And if it most of the time it works out well, and if it's not working well, we just kind of have a conversation and maybe work on ways to switch it up a little bit and make it better. But yeah, patient management. I've been getting into some more, complex dentistry. I do a good amount of like cosmetics, starting to do a little bit more like full mouth stuff,
Mhm.
and working on implementing more all on four types of cases. I don't do the surgery. I have a really good friend of mine who's an oral surgeon, but even restoratively, a lot of these things just come with their own set of challenges. And I mean, you've probably heard of like the zone of like proximal development, right? Like just
Mhm.
kind of stepping just outside your comfort zone, which at the time is like stressful doing something new. But as soon as you do two, three something cases, it starts feeling normal to you. So I like feeling confident in what I'm doing. So doing things that I'm not totally confident at yet are very stressful for me. But I just know once I get my hands on it and I do it, um, it becomes kind of like second nature over time.
What will help you, man, to make don't you have to like in order to be confident in it, like kind
You
of
got to
step a
do
little bit
it.
up?
Yeah. Yeah. I've been taking, CE, a lot of CE and things like that too. And, learning it from somebody is one thing, but even if you know all the possible complications and you learn how to deal with all those complications, it's a different thing to actually encounter them in real life and have to do them.
God. So
But you got to do it.
it's more like, let's just say you went to CE, took all the courses, went through all the worst case scenarios, but then when it's you market it and you're like gonna do it, and the first patient comes in, that's when you're like, holy crap, everything is
Yeah, you're a little nervous, but you get that
God.
done, man. Like two, three patients later, it's like nothing, right? It's like a piece of cake. Oh, that's why they call it a dental practice, right? You're kind of always practicing and always improving.
Yeah. What has that, what's that case for you right now? Like, where is it where you're like, oh man, I just want to cross this little threshold so I can start doing more of it?
Yeah. So as far as kind of like our next practice phase, growth wise, we're really focusing on our Invisalign in our office, and then I'm also trying to implement a lot more full arch like implant cases. Again, I don't do the surgery, but marketing for that, and working closely with my friend who's an oral surgeon. That's kind of another piece that we're trying to implement right now. So pretty soon we're going to start direct marketing for it. Um, I have one case in particular now, uh, upper and lower, all on four. And this guy, just very, very difficult case. I think just we're in the planning phase and it's already difficult because he has so much super eruption of his teeth.
Mhm.
He's got a pretty mobile lip. You can see pretty high. So I'm not sure if we're going to have enough, the ability to do enough bone reduction to hide that transition line. So we might have to come up with another option for him. But yeah, that kind of sticks out of my mind right now because I was dealing with that today on the phone with the lab.
Okay. Stuff like that. Is that what's kind of like also stressing you out where you're like, oh my gosh, why am I doing this? Or
Yep. Yep.
You think you
It's one of
think
those things, man, where it's like I can't sit still. I can't like I'm never complacent, right? I'm always wanting to do something new and grow and all that stuff, but also doing these new things. You know, opening an office is one thing because it's me. When you're doing these types of large case treatment for these patients, it's not you're delivering the case, but you're working on somebody who's paying a lot of money, who has to live with this in their mouth
Mhm.
for essentially the rest of their life, right? So that's where my anxiety comes from and stuff like this is um, being responsible for them and not wanting to let them down or disappoint them in any way. I want them to be, you know, super happy with the results and I want everything to go perfectly. But in cases this complex, things can and do go wrong. Um,
Yeah.
so kind of setting that expectations out front with the patients, having the conversations about what things can go wrong. Um, the case we were just talking about, I mean, I had to tell the guy, sometimes these implants don't integrate properly when you're doing the surgery, and maybe we don't have the ability to screw retain a temporary day of surgery, and you might have to go into like a traditional type of denture as we wait for these implants to fully integrate. It's not something people want to hear when they're paying so much money for all on four.
Yeah. What did he say?
I mean, he was kind of like disappointed to hear that, but he understands, right? It comes down to how you have that conversation with them. Um, he's a reasonable guy, really nice guy, so he kind of gets it. Um, but at the same time, I want to deliver and I want to do it well, and I want my surgeon to, be able to get the implants in there. Um, just might not. His case is a little special. He's got like an impacted canine that they're probably not going to be able to extract.
Yeah. To a
Yeah,
mic.
Alexa was hearing me talk and she started talking back to me.
Alexa. So that stuff like that, yeah, I can totally see how that can be like, you know what I mean? Did you ever think about when your practice was open in the business side, like, man, if only if I was just an associate again, like easy breezy. Now I'm doing this.
Yeah, man, I have those days.
You still have them like today or
Oh yeah, dude. You know what they say, more money, more problems, but that's
wise
for
words?
real. It's so real, man. And so that's another piece of this mental health thing, right? And it's like I've basically accomplished everything I ever thought I would and more. When I thought I was going to be a dentist, I was like, okay, maybe I'll go, take over an old office and, work 4 days a week like my dentist did growing up. And, maybe I'll make six figures or something like that. But
Mhm.
now I see the ultimate potential. You see so many people doing way better than you all the time. So there's this constantly moving finish line, you know, like when you talk to Dr. Vallo, right? And he's like opening like his third practice, right? And they're doing like $1 million in 8 months. You're like, oh my God, why am I not there? Why am I
Yeah.
not doing that well? Um, I don't know, man.
You're the I
That's
think third
stressful.
person who's brought that up today in an interview with Andrew. But yeah, do you feel like you compare yourself a lot?
Always.
Oh, Brandon, man. Why?
I don't know, man. I think it's just natural.
So when you're comparing, you feel like I got to get there, even though that's not even your goal, or that was never even your goal.
I don't think I have to get there. I'm trying to think of a good way to put it, but it's not like I'm racing against anybody besides myself. But at the same time, I just know that the possibilities seem limitless at this point, right?
Mhm.
So I've always thought in my mind, right? Like I'm gonna get to this place in life, and then I'm gonna finally be just like content to just like chill out. So it was like first phase of that was getting into dental school. So I got into dental school, and then that came with its own stressors. And I was like, well, let me just get out of dental school and start working, and I'll have a good income, and I'll be good. Well, I did that, and then I was like still just not satisfied. So I was like, you know what? I need my own office. Well, I did that. I opened it, and here we are 2 years later. We've already surpassed like $1 million in collections per year. and I'm still feeling like the same exact person I was 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It doesn't change the money, the success doesn't change you. So that's where I'm trying to reflect on my life a little bit and try to focus more on myself, and finding happiness where I'm at, no matter how much money's coming in or how well the practice is doing. You know what I'm saying?
Content, trying to be content where you're at. And I don't know, man, it kind of sounds like for you, you might have to go to the basics, just like you did physically. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
basics with life, like, is your family okay, roof over your head, things like that, right? And be like, man, bills are great. You know what I mean? Everything's paid. We're content. But like, how some people have to reassure themselves that every day, man,
Hmm.
sometimes you got to do it multiple times in the day. You know what I mean? Whenever you're going
Yeah.
down that train of thought of because I get you, man, where you're like, you never knew the potential that you have, and then you're kind of going more and more. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't get to your extent because I feel like you really skyrocketed, and I mean, 5 years from now, you're gonna be like, oops, Michael, I accidentally did open my fifth practice. I don't know how this happened. What is happening, right? And this is
And it
gonna
may
happen.
happen just because I kind of get bored sometimes, but it is what it is. I mean, another like comparison, like listening to like, uh, podcasts like Mark Costa's podcast, and some people in his group, they're all running like 50% overhead, and I'm like, for me, I'm like, my overhead's so damn high. But part of that is like I'm in hyper growth mode still. I spend a lot of money on marketing. I'm not in a cheap location either, and I pay my staff well. I don't know. Even if I had 50% overhead, I just still don't feel like that would really change me as a person.
Yeah. Are you trying to change you as a person?
Yeah, I would say I've been on this like I don't know, maybe the past 8 to 12 months or so, like I don't know what you would call it, like a self-discovery process.
What
That's
do
why
you
I
mean?
started going to the therapist.
Self-discovery and like being more aware of what you're doing, or what?
Yes, yeah. So maybe becoming more aware of the things that I'm feeling and the things that I'm doing that lead me to those feelings, or the things that I'm not doing as well, I guess. Um, I guess throughout my life, I've always had this next step in front of me, this goal that I was trying to achieve. Um, Again, it was getting to dental school, graduating dental school, getting a job, opening the office. And now I have this office open and it's doing well. And for the first time in my life, I'm living week to week, and there's no progression to another thing for me.
Mm.
So it's like you got to find something new. And maybe it's not professional, it's not maybe like another office or something, but maybe I need to find for myself some type of tangible uh, goal in my personal life. And again, for me, that was also working with a health and nutrition coach for the past few months, just implementing tracking, my macros and my eating, and my goals being, hitting 160 grams of protein a day. That's kind of my thing. And if I'm tracking it, I'm doing my best to hit those numbers. And if I'm a little short at the end of the day, I'll throw something else in there to hit that number. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just having that accountability has really helped me, because I always fall back into default mode, which is wake up, skip breakfast because I'm not hungry, and just kind of go through my day that way. But I think having some accountability like that has been huge for me.
How shocked were you when you were like, oh my gosh, way over my fats? Like my fats, I can easily go over those like nothing. Or did you never go over your fats and your macros?
Oh, I'm sure like fat's always kind of like, but that's the one I don't care about as much, right? For me, it's like I'm always too high in carbs, of course, or like
Oh,
not enough protein. Because what I would do is I will just not eat until like lunch comes, and like 2 o'clock, I'll go down the street to like Wendy's, get a Baconator, and then I feel like crap for like the rest of the afternoon. And I go home and I binge, and I'm like binging two big meals, and it's like 200 something carbs, like protein is like maybe 100 grams and like a shit ton of fat. For
yeah.
me, that's not enough. And I would say maybe it took a while, a couple or a few months to start feeling like it's actually working. So last week I had this kind of like, I want to call it like a light bulb moment or like an epiphany, like, hey, this actually is working. I could feel the physical difference finally, from all that work that I put in.
Yeah. Body composition is changing, right? Like you're like, oh
Yes.
man,
Yeah.
looking nice, looking better. Okay, awesome. All right. One of the last questions I want to ask you is like throughout this time, what's been some of the best and worst companies that you've worked with?
Ooh, best companies I've worked with. I mean, I'll shout out again, Studio 88, um, Dark Horse, man. I love them. Honestly, I like, maybe they're not the cheapest around, but like Ruben's a really good dude. Um, and they came out and they installed everything, and it's just everything's been seamless, since then. Um, worst companies, I can't say I really had any really bad experiences, honestly. The worst people that I've had to work with are just probably my landlords.
Really? Why?
Yeah. Um, there was some delay with the building going up, and it was kind of a gray area, like whose fault it was that we weren't quite open yet. And COVID kind of happened, and um, I asked for like a little bit of an extension on my build out, and they were like, no. And we got a little thing over the phone, but I had to spend a little bit extra money on attorneys to have some conversations with them. I mean, since we opened, it's been fine. I just pay the rent checks and I think they're happy.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I mentioned this though either, but like October 2020, so it's like 4 months of being open, right? I had this like flood in my office, like in my lab, like it was a model trimmer. The hose came out and
Mhm.
just water went everywhere. So like middle of the night, like 20,000 gallons, I think, of water, and tens of thousands of dollars in repair bills. So they weren't
And
happy about that either.
oh, okay, gotcha. So that's
But
what,
it was all resolved, and insurance sucks to work with too.
dude, that's a headache. That would have been a headache to me where I'm like, man, if I was an associate, this would have never
I know.
happened.
Yeah. You got to have insurance, man. But when you actually have to use it, they kind of suck to work with and get it paid for. But we were lucky it didn't affect all of our office, so we were still operational. Um, at the
That's good.
time, it was a big deal. Looking back, we made it past. No big deal. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. At the time, it's like, what the heck is happening? Why are we doing this? But I get you. So no worst companies. There's never been a company where you're like, I only worked with them for a month because it just didn't fit.
No, honestly, no. I think I did my due diligence, man, on everybody that I worked with. I really counted on referrals, from other people. I knew Ashley worked with Studio 88. I've seen their other work with other offices. Dark Horse is just a pretty popular choice across the startup world. um, so I never really took a shot in the dark on a company.
Yeah. That's good, man. That's good. So any last piece of advice you want to give to somebody who is probably in their startup phase or about to open up or thinking to open up?
Yeah, just go. If you're thinking about it, go for it, because if you don't, you may end up regretting that decision at some point. It can be challenging. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But in the end, it's really given me a lot of uh, personal satisfaction, to have a place that patients love to go to and that the staff likes working at. And that I'm able to, support them. And I lost my train of thought. But anyways, it's a direct contrast from my first job out of school where the staff satisfaction was abysmal. There was so much turnover. It was a high volume practice where you may not see the patients ever again. So, we're big on forming the relationships with the patients and keeping on track for every 6 months. I'm big on the reappointment percentage, and if they fall off, we are contacting them to try to keep them on track. But aside from that, I also have the freedom to set my own hours. You know, working 3 clinical days, 2 years into it, I never really thought that would be possible. You know, I am taking a hit like on my personal income from that. You know, but money only gets you so far, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, man. You're right. Awesome. Brandon, if anyone has any questions besides finding you at the Making of a Dental Startup retreat in Napa, where can they reach out to you?
Well, they should all just go to Napa and hang out with us, I think.
Yeah.
Uh, Easiest way is probably social media. So my personal page is at Prior DMD, PRIOR DMD, or my business page at 100 West Dental.
Awesome, man. So that's all going to be in the show notes below. And also a discount code for the Making of a Dental Startup retreat is going to be in the show notes below too, guys. So check that out. Come see us. Wear navy green, army green shirts so we can all be
Yeah, bring a
matching.
bunch of 100 West Dental shirts like this.
I know that was a cool looking shirt, man. That's a cool looking shirt. I don't have one. I don't know why. I don't know why you haven't sent me one. Whatever. It's cool. Whatever.
I gotta
But
find my DM shirt while I'm at it. I don't know where it went.
oh, man, it's okay. It's fine. No worries.
Still
But
got it.
awesome, guys. So Brandon, thank you so much for being with us. It was a pleasure. And sign us out.
Sign us out.
You never signed anybody out?
Like Seacrest, Prior out.
Yeah, you can do that. You can be like, guys, thanks for everything. Bye. Whatever you want to say.
Oh man, thanks for listening, guys. If you can, I really urge you to make it out to Napa with us. It's going to be a really good time. Who's speaking out there? Do you know?
The itinerary should be done soon. I know, like the people you've been watching on the Making of a Dental Startup, the lives with Ashley.
Oh, the lives. Yeah.
I think some of them might be speaking. Some, I want to say, like Luna.
Okay.
I don't know who else, right?
Phelps.
Phelps, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, guys, go check that out and we'll talk to everybody soon.
Yep.